a lot of fun, and his humanity and his decency came through, and people identified. He did so many of those town hall meetings, and he met so many people that became what was known about him.
Right. It wasn't just that it was fun being a reporter on the bus, but it was that you felt like you were actually getting a glimpse of a real person, and you had so much time to talk to him. But, you know, when everybody in the press and politics was writing him off in 2007, when the campaign virtually collapsed, no money and all that, was he down? Did he still think he was going to win? Was he telling you guys, I can still do it?
He absolutely believed he was going to win. I remember we had an event in August in Concord, New Hampshire, and the National Press Corps came up there thinking he was going to announce he was suspending his campaign. Instead, he gave a rather dry speech on foreign policy. Afterwards, the press gaggle kept asking him all these different questions about when are you giving up. And finally, I think it was Susan Page who said, well, Senator, under what circumstances would you be prepared to suspend your campaign? And he turned and he had this smile, and I will always remember this, and he looked her straight in the eye and he said, only if I succumb to a fatal disease before the date of the New Hampshire primary. And I just knew at that point we were going to win or have a good chance trying, and that message spread. We had more protesters against the surge outside some of the town hall tours than we did people listening inside, but he just wouldn't quit, and people respected that.
That's such a classic moment, because when the press thinks you're dead in the water, it's like, when are you dropping out? When are you dropping out? And he was able to challenge that in a way that I'm glad you remembered that moment with Susan Page. Steve Dupree, thanks very much for joining us again on such short notice.
Thanks for having me on.
Well, that's it for this edition of Media Buzz. I'm Howard Kurtz. This was a time, I think, to remember a guy who, whether you liked him or you didn't like him, his politics, his personality, really was a larger-than-life figure. I said at the top that he was a lion of the Senate, but we were not going to lionize him here. I think we presented John McCain, warts and all. And, of course, the continuing coverage will unfold on Fox News about the life and legacy of John McCain, who died at 81. Thanks very much for watching.
Do you have trouble falling asleep or wake up with a sore neck or headache? Then it's time you discovered MyPillow.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Just like you, I had problems sleeping. 10 years ago, I invented MyPillow. It took me 2 years to develop because I wanted to have everything you would ever want in a pillow. I made sure that you could adjust my patented fill so you could have the exact support you need as an individual regardless of your sleep position. I also wanted a pillow that would last, so I made MyPillow machine washable and dryable. I back MyPillow with a 10-year warranty and a 60-day money-back guarantee. Not only that, I do all my own manufacturing in my home state of Minnesota. I personally guarantee that MyPillow will be the most comfortable pillow you'll ever own.
Call now or go to MyPillow.com. Use this promo code to save over 50% on a MyPillow 4-pack with 2 premium pillows and 2 Go Anywhere pillows. Order now.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Imagine never worrying about flying insects in your house again. No more annoying flies. No more ugly sticky strips that are a hassle to use. No more nasty pesticide sprays. Introducing the Dynatrap Flylight, the smart and easy way to protect your entire home with the most advanced flying insect control technology available. Looking like a decorative nightlight, Dynatrap's exclusive Attract-to-Glow technology creates a genetic response flying insects can't resist, while safely and effectively attracting and eliminating those annoying flying insects. Flies and other flying insects can carry around harmful bacteria and diseases that can spread upon contact. The Dynatrap Flylight disposes of them while enhancing the surroundings with its gentle glow and stylish design. The Dynatrap Flylight contains no harmful chemicals, is easy to use, and starts working the minute you plug it in.
Look at that!
Starting at $19.95, the Dynatrap Flylight protects your home from unwanted insect invaders. Call now or log on to trydynatrap.com. Risk-free for 30 days.
It was so easy to set up, and we started noticing a difference immediately.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's quiet and safe for a family to be around. Plus, who knows what kind of diseases and junk those flies and insects are carrying.
And it looks great, too.
The Dynatrap Flylight is the real deal.
Protect every room in your home from mosquitoes, flies, moths, no-see-ums, fruit flies, yellow jackets, and more with the Dynatrap Flylight. Call now or log on to trydynatrap.com and learn how you can try the Dynatrap Flylight in your home risk-free for 30 days. If you're not amazed at how well the Dynatrap Flylight works in your home, return it for a full refund of the purchase price. Enter the promo code on your screen now and we'll even include 3 bonus sticky tack cards. This offer is not available in stores, so call or log on now.
It is Monday, August 27th. This is Fox and Friends First, and happening right now at 4 a.m., a Fox News alert, a hunt for clues. The FBI ransacking a townhouse in Baltimore overnight in connection with a mass shooting at a video game tournament in Jacksonville, Florida.
What led police more than 700 miles from the bloody scene? The new details breaking right now. And remembering John McCain, a brand new push to honor the late senator and American war hero.
We're live with the effort to rename a Senate building in his honor. Also, skipping class, cough up the cash.
The controversial new plan that has everyone talking this morning. Fox and Friends First starts right now. I believe it's supposed to be a beautiful week here in New York City.
This is going to be a hot one.
Which is beautiful. I can't wait. All right, well, thank you. Yeah, well, I have a pool. We just got one this summer, and we're loving it.
There you go.
Come on over. Good morning. You're watching Fox and Friends First on this Monday morning. I'm Jackie Ibanez.
I'm Rob Schmidt. We're both in for Heather Childers here at 4 a.m., and thanks for starting your day with us. And we begin with a Fox News alert. Heavily armed agents search the home of the gunman accused of opening fire at a video game tournament.
The suspect killing 2 and injuring nearly a dozen before turning the gun on himself at a Jacksonville mall. Phil Keating joins us live with more, including the identity of those 2 victims. Phil.
Good morning. The sheriff says he is not looking for any other suspects. They believe they have the one and only dead on the scene. Over there over my shoulder is the Landing. That's in downtown Jacksonville, right on the St. Johns River. A very popular entertainment complex. A lot of fun, a lot of laughing, but yesterday at 1:30 in the afternoon, things turned absolutely terrifying and chaotic. That is when, according to witnesses, the suspect lost one of his qualifying rounds for the Madden NFL Championship Series, which is an online video gaming tournament, and then decided to start shooting with the gun he had on his body. That, again, according to witnesses. And the killer has been identified as 24-year-old David Katz out of Baltimore, Maryland. ATF and FBI searched his home, his apartment there in an upscale neighborhood. They have closed down that scene as well. According to witnesses inside the qualifying tournament, it was absolutely terrifying.
Okay. People were being trampled. People were hiding. Everybody was screaming in fear.
So 2 dead total, plus the shooter. 11 people injured. 9 of those were apparently shot as well. The victims, the dead, have been identified as Taylor Robertson out of Ballard, West Virginia, and Eli Clayton out of Woodland Hills, California.
So we know that the suspect used at least one handgun to commit this act, and we are working, again, with our partners at ATF on that aspect of the investigation.
So people were watching this online tournament around the country, and of course, suddenly you heard gunshots in that live stream. And David Katz, 24 years old, the killer, again, he was pretty well known out there among the gaming community and had a very high opinion of his gaming skills. Back to you.
Unbelievable. That's the motive for all of this, Phil. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, we now know that a U.S. Army soldier is among 4 killed in a skydiving plane crash. The 31-year-old staff sergeant served as a demonstrator for the Army's Golden Knights parachute team. He was off duty at the time. The small aircraft burst into flames after crashing at the end of a runway at a Georgia airport. 1 passenger in critical condition. The crash is under investigation. That soldier is survived by his parents. Israel will reopen the country's border along the Gaza Strip today after a week of calm. It comes after weeks of violence and ongoing talks of a ceasefire between the terror group Hamas and Israel. Fighting had previously escalated after Hamas militants began firing rockets at Israel, forcing airstrikes in response.
And Tropical Storm Lane leaving Hawaii underwater. The Big Island slammed with more than 4 feet of rain. The severe weather causing dozens of landslides, one of them pushing a giant boulder into a busy Hawaiian highway. Dozens of residents forced to evacuate their homes as officials warn of life-threatening flash flooding. Nearly 40 people have been rescued so far from the dangerous conditions. Thousands are without power this morning. Molly Tippett's father gives a heart-wrenching final goodbye to his daughter, who was tragically murdered by an illegal immigrant. Rob Tibbetts speaking to thousands packed inside Molly's former high school gymnasium, saying, quote, "Today we need to turn the page. We're at the end of a long ordeal, but we need to turn toward life, Molly's life, because Molly's nobody's victim. Molly's my hero." The Iowa college student was found dead last week in a cornfield following a month-long search. Christian Rivera, you see him right there, is accused of chasing and kidnapping Molly before killing her.
All right, tributes pouring in for Senator John McCain, who died at the age of 81 over the weekend. We're expected to learn more today about the memorial services scheduled for this week.
Alicia Cunha is live in Phoenix, where people have been remembering the maverick of the Senate.
Good morning, Jackie. Good morning, Rob. Yes, ever since Saturday evening when he did pass. And later this morning, we're expecting to get more details, a media briefing from the late senator's former campaign manager and family spokesperson, find out exactly how this American hero will be honored. The first ceremonies will be here in his adopted state. On Wednesday, his casket will be brought to the state capitol building, where he will lie in state for public viewing. This will be after a private ceremony with his family. John McCain represented Arizona and Washington from 1982 until his passing on Saturday, first as a 2-term member of the House, then 6-term U.S. Senator. The responsibility of filling his seat in Congress lies with Governor Doug Ducey, a longtime family friend of the McCains.
John McCain is irreplaceable. This week in Arizona is going to be about honoring him and his legacy, comforting his family and the other Arizonans, and we'll deal with that responsibility at the appropriate time.
Continuing the ceremonies on Thursday, McCain's motorcade will leave the state capitol grounds for a service at the North Phoenix Baptist Church. At the conclusion of what his office is calling a celebration of his life and legacy, his casket will be flown to Washington, D.C., where he will lie in state at the U.S. Capitol Rotunda, and then following a national memorial service celebrating the life of Senator John McCain at Washington National Cathedral. And per his wishes, he will be buried at the cemetery at the Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. Jackie, Rob.
All right, our respects to his family, of course, and we'll follow that all week. Alicia, thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, candidates making their final pitch to voters today before critical primaries tomorrow in Arizona. Congresswoman Martha McSally, former State Senator Kelly Ward, and former Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio are vying for the Republican nod for retiring Jeff Flake's seat. In Florida, Trump-endorsed Congressman Ron DeSantis squares off against Adam Putnam, and the GOP primary for governor and current Republican Governor Rick Scott is the favorite to win the Senate primary, setting up a showdown against incumbent Democrat Bill Nelson.
President Trump set to host the president of Kenya at the White House today. He and Uhuru Kenyatta will discuss trade and security. Kenyatta will also meet with American business leaders while in Washington. He'll be the second African leader to meet with President Trump at the White House.
And the First Lady leaving her mark on the White House lawn today. Melania Trump is adding a sapling from the Eisenhower oak to the South Lawn. It'll replace a tree that was removed earlier this year, according to the White House. Those attending the tree planting ceremony include President Eisenhower's granddaughter.
All right, a Fox News alert. They're accused of training kids to become school shooters at a New Mexico compound, and now their target is revealed. We are live with what police just uncovered.
And a big win in the war on terror. U.S. airstrikes taking out an ISIS leader in Afghanistan. Why our next guest, Dr. Rebecca Grant, says the heavy use of air power won't stop here. Next, don't go anywhere.
Flies are disgusting. Protect your food and your health with the Bug Assault. Simple to use, just pour ordinary table salt, cock, aim, remove safety, and fire. One pump, and it's over.
$39.95 plus free shipping and handling. Or even more fun, got the Bug Bean Laser Sight at bugassault.com.
I yo-yo dieted for years.
I counted the points, I followed the rules, and it didn't help me long term.
I was just so tired of losing the weight and gaining it all back.
But I found something new. It's called Noom.
It's not a diet. It's a totally different, personalized program
that uses psychology and small goals to change your habits
so that you can lose the weight
and keep it off for good.
It's super easy to get started, so what do you have to lose? Visit Noom.com today and lose the weight for good.
Do you have any idea how your mattress affects your body and how well you sleep? Is it too hard or too soft, causing you to wake up with sore shoulders, back, or hips? Are you uncomfortable because you're too hot or too cold? Now you can get the total body support you need and the better sleep you want with the new MyPillow mattress topper.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell. When I invented my new MyPillow mattress topper, I made it to have everything you'd ever want in a topper. My mattress topper helps give you the support you need, helps relieve your pressure points, and regulates your body temperature for you as an individual. It comes with a 10-year warranty. You can wash and dry the cover. It's made in the USA, and I back it with my 60-day money-back guarantee.
Go to MyPillow.com or call now to get your very own MyPillow mattress topper. Use the promo code and Mike will give you 30% off and 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free. Order now.
MyPillow topper delivers on its promise to give me a better night's sleep.
I can sleep all night through, and it's a miracle for me.
Mike's exclusive 3-layer design starts with a layer of MyPillow foam, providing you superior support and comfort. The second layer of transitional foam evenly distributes body weight and helps relieve uncomfortable pressure points for optimal comfort. Mike's ultra-soft outer layer is a patented temperature-regulating cover that helps keep you at your ideal sleeping temperature all night long. Unlike other sleep systems costing thousands, the MyPillow mattress topper takes comfort to a whole new level without any wires, remotes, or moving parts. Call now or go to MyPillow.com to order your MyPillow topper. Use the promo code to save 30%. When you do, Mike will give you 2 of his standard MyPillows absolutely free. That's right, 2 standard MyPillows free and 30% off your MyPillow topper today. Order now.
I personally guarantee it's going to change your bed into the most comfortable bed you'll ever own.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Welcome back. It's now 12 minutes after the hour. A major win in the war against ISIS. American drone strikes taking out the top terror leader in Afghanistan.
This as the new U.S. military commander takes over in that region next weekend.
So what should we expect? Joining us now is international relations expert Dr. Rebecca Grant. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
So we have now 3 of the top guys killed in the last 2 years. What should we expect moving forward with the U.S., a new leader coming here for the U.S. military starting this weekend?
Right. Our strategy in Afghanistan is to try to hit the Taliban and ISIS remnants hard enough to make them negotiate. So I expect to see a continued heavy use of air power. There were 746 airstrikes carried out in July, and that is more than we've seen in about a 5-year period. So that's very important to go forward. And with the new commander, General Miller is someone who's very experienced in Afghanistan. He was on the ground in Mogadishu in 1993 leading the rescue efforts after Black Hawk Down. So this is a real expert in counterinsurgency and in training Afghanistan's forces.
Yeah, Doctor, this is a huge problem we've had for years now. It makes you wonder why there was such reluctance to use this kind of force in the previous administration. It was a growing problem, a growing threat. They captured a lot of land because of kind of a failure to really take them seriously. What was that reluctance, do you think?
Right. There was an attempt to draw down forces in Afghanistan, and the change that we saw about this time last year as a mini surge, using tactics bringing our advisors closer to the actual fight to try to help Afghanistan's forces control more of that territory. Air power is a leading part of that, with surveillance and the strikes backing up the special operations forces working there. So I think what we see is President Trump very reluctant, but he doubled down to try to make this strategy work, to try to bring all the warring parties into some form of negotiation. That hasn't happened yet, but that is still our strategy.
I want to move on to North Korea. They're blasting, saying doubling down the U.S. after President Trump pulls the plug on Pompeo's trip. Where do things stand with denuclearization now? Because we know the meeting back in June seemed to go really well, and then there's been kind of this just gridlock of nothing really happening. Both parties just kind of stopping there.
Right. Perfect question, Jackie. And I think that denuking is still on track, but the railroad engine has stopped. North Korea says that they have destroyed a nuclear test site, taken apart some missile testing equipment, and of course returned some remains. So now they want some concessions. But what Trump and Pompeo and Secretary Mattis are saying is you've got to do more. We need to see some real progress towards denuclearization, and that would be an inventory of the weapon sites, letting in inspectors, bringing out some spent fuel rods, some things that they have not yet been willing to do. Big sticking points include a peace treaty and North Korea's security guarantees.
Is the administration idealizing the potential of this? I mean, it sure seems like this would be almost unimaginable if you got Kim Jong-un to really cooperate with something like this, because I don't think it has his best interests at heart. If he wants to retain power of this country for the rest of his life and keep this regime in place, how does he win here, I guess is my question.
Great question, Rob. And, Kim Jong-un has a unique opportunity to reach out for some economic development. And as our commander in Korea, General Brooks, says, there is no going back for North Korea. The UN Security Council is still locked arms. Kim needs and wants some sanctions relief. So going forward is the only thing. But President Trump told us back in May it will go as slowly or as quickly as Kim Jong-un wants. It's about the political will in Kim Jong-un's heart, as our Charge 8 Affairs there said. So it really is on his shoulders. We have yet to see. We have to keep the pressure on military and the sanctions pressure.
Yeah.
And Dr. Grant, lastly, John McCain's lasting impact on our military as he passed this weekend. A lot of thoughts on him this morning. What would you say about his impact on our military?
As a national security analyst, John McCain was a Navy man through and through. Naval aviation, he could be really tough on the Air Force. He made sure it was always an admiral in command in the Pacific. But under his time in the Senate, naval aviation flourished. They got the new Super Hornet fighter, the P-8 surveillance plane, and he set U.S. Navy aviation up for the radical new F-35 stealth fighter. His legacy in U.S. naval aviation, that's what I think of. Navy man through and through.
Yeah, his legacy in so many different parts of this country, so many different places, on so many people. Doctor, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The time is now 17 after the hour. Officers under fire. Chilling body cam video showing a gunman unleashing a barrage of bullets on police. Wow. Wait until you see what happens next.
And the president's approval rating holding somewhat steady, despite what you hear from Democrats, especially after last week. Why our next guest, Noel Nickpour, says the president's base is quite solid. Good morning.
Hi.
Well, it comes and it goes, but I ride that way with you. It's human nature to wish what's under your nose till you.
These folks, they don't have time to go to the post office. They have businesses to grow, customers to care for, lives to get home to. They use Stamps.com. Print discounted postage for any letter, any package, anytime, right from your computer. All the amazing services of the post office, only cheaper. Get our special TV offer, a 4-week trial plus postage and a digital scale. Go to Stamps.com/TV and never go to the post office again.
Is there so much noise all around that you can't hear your TV sound? Or do you have to turn it up so loud that everyone screams?
Turn it down.
What you need is OwnZone headphones by Sharper Image, the perfect way to hear your TV loud and clear without disturbing anyone else. OwnZone headphone connects to virtually any make or model TV in seconds and helps you block out the surrounding sound just by putting them on. Now you don't have to dread watching TV in bed anymore because you can hear loud and clear. Now you can get OwnZone headphones by Sharper Image today for just $59.99, and they're backed by a 100% risk-free 90-day guarantee. We'll even pay to ship it back. But to really turn up this offer, you can get a second pair. Just pay a separate fee. We'll even ship it to you free. That's right, free shipping. You get all this. Call or log on to getownzone.com.
Monday, Laura Ingraham is back. Powerful debate, smart opinion, and the no-holds-barred conversation you need. You don't want to miss this Ingraham Angle.
Every time you're online, your private information can be stolen, sold, or exploited. That's why you need NordVPN. Online protection trusted by millions of people worldwide. NordVPN uses military-grade encryption that protects your information from online tracking. In just a few clicks, you can protect up to 6 devices for just $5 per month. Don't risk being hacked. Install NordVPN at nordvpn.com/TV today.
I was on heroin.
I used crack cocaine.
We are the Addiction Network. And if you have a problem with drugs or alcohol, you need to call the number on your screen now. Addiction is a disease, and you can't go it alone. The call is free, and so is the consultation. If you have private insurance, your treatment could be covered with no out-of-pocket cost. So call the Addiction Network now.
Call 800-260-8775.
Welcome back. It's now 21 minutes after the hour. A city leader accused of putting his own city in danger. Portland, Oregon Mayor Ted Wheeler rejecting demands to allow ICE agents and local police to work together in any situation. Right now, they can only join forces if lives are in immediate danger. The union representing ICE says the mayor isn't doing his job to keep people safe.
All right, Trump-bashing ESPN host Jemele Hill is out as the network finally refocuses on strictly sports, so they say. She is reportedly leaving next month. The New York Post says the company will buy out her 4-year, $10 million contract. Yes, that's right. Hill first came under fire last year when she called the president a white supremacist. She was suspended before moving into an off-air writing role. ESPN's president is reportedly pushing the network away from political commentary and focusing only on sports.
All right, President Trump's approval rating hitting 46% in a new NBC Wall Street Journal poll after the stock market hit record highs.
But the media outlets felt the need to conduct another poll following the news of Michael Cohen and Paul Manafort, understandably so. And it was actually surprising to see the president's approval rating continuing to hold pretty steady after a very rough week.
Okay, so why are Democrats so shocked to see Americans supporting the president's policies? Here now to weigh in is Republican strategist Noelle Nickport. Hey, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so what's going on here? Why is this happening, you think?
Well, you know what? It's because President Trump, on the campaign trail, if you guys will remember back when he was running for office, he made these radical promises. He told people, if I'm in office, I'm going to do the following. We're going to have a booming economy. And do you remember when he said we're going to be so sick of winning, we're not even going to know what to do with ourselves? Yeah. And guess what? It's happening. Look at this economy. Look at what's going on with job rates. Look at people being employed. Look at companies giving back. He is doing everything that he said. Supreme Court, he's filled that seat as well. He's going to fill another one probably with Kavanaugh. So I think what's happening is, you have two things going on. You have campaign promises being filled, and you have his base rallying around him and very excited. And then on the flip side, you've got mainstream media that the only thing they can do is tout a negative message on anything that they perceive as negative on the president. And that's all that you hear all day long is negative rhetoric.
You got to admit, though, it was a rough week last week. I mean, you had his fixer, his attorney for all these years, implicating him in a crime.
Right.
I mean, and it makes you wonder, because I myself was shocked to see that his rating didn't go down. Is his support so steady? Is all of this baked into it? They call him Teflon Don. They say nothing sticks to him. Yeah. Do people just come to expect this from the president because he's already gone through so much negative media? It's hard to make an impact anymore.
Great point. And I wrote a book called Branding America where I talk about branding, and there are Teflon brands. Donald Trump, you're witnessing right now, has a Teflon brand. Yeah. Really, there are so many things that have happened within his presidency and when he was running for office that have not stuck to him. He has such strong support. And I think that is why a lot of people are upset with his Twitter use. But that is why he resorts to Twitter use, is because that is his audience. He's got to get his message out because it's so negative on the other side. And if you really look at it, Donald Trump has got double digits in the millions of followers. And if you think about, the viewers of other cable networks, he's got more Twitter followers that are listening to his message than mainstream media has in viewers. So think about he has to get his message out to say, by the way, folks, this is false. What's happening is false. Here is what's really happening, in his own words.
Do you think he's changed the presidency moving forward?
Well, he certainly has changed the presidency moving forward. He really has. And I think that, that's why the mainstream media is so upset with it. This is not a normal presidency. I mean, if you look at this, we are all 24/7 working in the news business because of the tweets, because of what they're discovering, against Trump and what they're trying to prove with investigations, which we know has turned into a witch hunt. So, if you look at this is just a revolving door of news. What we used to have that would last a week in the news business is really lasting a couple of hours before we have the next segment of breaking news.
Yeah, well, the Cohen Manafort stuff, they redid the poll and he dropped maybe 2 points. It was not a dramatic fall. I think a lot of people were expecting maybe a double-digit drop from that, and it didn't happen. So, Noelle, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. A Fox News alert. Target revealed kids trained inside of New Mexico extremist compound were going to target a hospital. What else was just uncovered in a terror manifesto?
And 1 week before his confirmation hearing, thousands unite to protest Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh. Is this an indication of just how tough the confirmation battle will be? We are live in Washington next.
Anything could happen. Anything could happen. Anything could happen.
Sleep disturbances keep 1 in 3 adults up at night. Only RemFresh uses ion-powered melatonin to deliver up to 7 hours of sleep support. #1 sleep doctor recommended RemFresh, your nightly sleep companion. Available in the natural sleep section at Walmart.
Diamonds, the forever gift. The Jewelry Exchange has half-carat anniversary bands for $2.99, 1-carat 2-stone rings $9.90, 1.5-carat 3-stone rings $19.90, and 1-carat studs just $3.99. All guaranteed to appraise for double. The Jewelry Exchange.
Look, cleaning the outside of your windows is a real chore. And who wants to climb a dangerous ladder just to get to the second floor? Not anymore. Hi, I'm John Florell, the Fuller Brush Man. And this is Full Crystal from the Fuller Brush Company. The fastest, easiest way to clean all of your windows in minutes, not days. Just add the cleaning crystals, attach it to any garden hose, and away you go. The secret is in the Fuller cleaning crystals that dissolve dust, dirt, pollen, and grime in no time. And here's the best part. You don't have to remove your screens because Full Crystal cleans them too. Watch what I'm gonna do. This screen may look clean, but look how Full Crystal blasts away the dust, pollen, dirt, and grime while it cleans your window at the same time. And that'll save you a ton of time. Look, even with the ladder, you couldn't reach that window. But with the Full Crystal Power Sprayer, you can clean windows up to 27 feet high. Simply aim, spray, and walk away, leaving your windows spot-free, streak-free, and with both feet securely on the ground. For a clean so clear, your windows will virtually disappear. Plus, it's completely safe for all of your plants, lawns, shrubs, and flowers. And watch this. Full Crystal gives you the power to blast away cobwebs, dirt, and debris from shutters, gutters, and overhangs. Use it to perfectly power wash patio furniture. And simply touch the switch between suds and rinse for a spot-free clean on your car, truck, boat, or RV. Call or go online now to order the complete complete full crystal system with enough cleaning crystals for up to 20 windows for the factory direct price of just $19.99. But order right now and we'll double the cleaning crystals. Enough for up to 40 windows, just pay a separate fee. And remember, it's from the Fuller Brush Company, so your satisfaction is 100% guaranteed. Call or go online to buyfullcrystal.com.
For drug-free sinus relief, experience Navage, the next big thing in nasal care. Navage is the only nose cleaner with powered suction to pull refreshing saline rinse in one nostril and out the other. Navage relieves congestion from allergies and colds naturally by flushing out allergens, mucus, dust, and germs.
I used to get so congested, but Navage cleans out all the stuff that makes me miserable so I can breathe again.
Now at CVS and Navage.com. You'll love that clean nose feeling.
Okay, we are back with a Fox News alert and chilling new details about that extremist compound in New Mexico. Authorities now revealing the suspects there were planning a very sinister attack on a hospital.
Todd Pyro joins us live to break down the busted terror plot. Todd.
Rob and Jackie, good morning. Prosecutors in Taos County, citing interviews with 11 children found starved and living in squalor, say suspect Yanni Lavalle singled out Atlanta's Grady Hospital as a target, wanting to confront so-called corrupt institutions, possibly because of treatment her mother received there. In addition, investigators recovered a 10-page handwritten document titled Phases of a Terrorist Attack, which allegedly instructed children to shoot or otherwise attack the non-believer. Authorities adding that Lavalle and her partner, Siraj Ibn Wahaj, would laugh and joke about dying in jihad. You'll recall that Wahaj allegedly took his 3-year-old son out of Georgia to New Mexico without taking medications the boy needed to treat severe health problems. The child's remains were found on August 6th inside an underground tunnel at that compound. The latest filings from prosecutors come as part of their appeal of a district judge's order that could allow at least 3 of the 5 adult defendants to be released on house arrest with just ankle monitors. Judge Sarah Backus said the previous evidence was troubling, but did not indicate, in her words, any clear threat to public safety. In addition to child abuse charges, Lavalle is also being held on accusations by federal immigration authorities that she overstayed her non-immigrant visa after arriving 20 years ago from Haiti. Jackie.
All right, such an awful story. Thank you, Todd. Heavily armed agents swarmed the Baltimore home of the gunman accused of opening fire at a video game tournament. Police say David Katz fired multiple shots, killing 2 people and injuring 11 others. It happened as a game of Madden NFL 19 played out at a mall in Jacksonville. Katz then turning the gun on himself. Witnesses say the shooter had just lost in the tournament and was upset about that. Investigators are working to figure out a motive. Shots fired at police chasing down an alleged shoplifter in a crowded Walmart parking lot. Stop what you're doing on this one and watch it. It's crazy. Terrifying body cam footage shows the rookie officer confronting 23-year-old Charles Purvis as he walks out the door of the Albuquerque store. You can see the gun in the suspect's right hand there. The officer, just 10 weeks out of the academy, did not fire back. Purvis was later arrested. Nobody was hurt.
All right, a federal judge set to rule on 3D printed guns today. The issue, posting gun blueprints online. The Seattle judge has blocked their release up until now, but feels the president or Congress should solve the bigger picture problem here. The man behind the blueprints says posting them online is a Second Amendment right. Critics say it is a threat to public safety. A multi-million-dollar scandal forcing West Virginia to replace its Supreme Court with 2 interim judges. Governor Jim Justice appointing Congressman Evan Jenkins and West Virginia House Speaker Tim Armstead to the court until November's special election. Their appointments coming after the state's entire Supreme Court was impeached over wasteful spending and criminal misconduct accusations. The 4 of them combined spending nearly $4 million on lavish office renovations. Unbelievable story.
Is he right?
Yeah.
Senator John McCain remembered around the world this morning for his ability to transcend polarized politics and unite the country.
Despite our differences, much more unites us than divides us. We are fellow Americans, and that's an association that means more to me than any other.
All right, joining us now to react to the legacy of this political icon is a former strategist for the McCain-Palin 2008 campaign and the author of Jumping the Aisle. Oliver McGee joins us today. Thank you so much, sir, for coming on. You lost a friend over the weekend, and the country lost a great man, somebody that really made this country proud.
Absolutely, Rob. In preparing for the segment, I read the wonderful tribute by his good friend Joey Lieberman, which appears in Newsmax this morning. I came away with the sense that John McCain was a maverick, an independent, like Joe Lieberman, but they were also lawmakers in the spirit of Salome, the contrarian. And in my book, Jumping the Aisle, I talk about how we can be a contrarian in our independent thinking and our thought. And these two mavericks, in Joey Lieberman and John McCain, good friends, were mavericks. They were independents. And that was working across the aisle, and they represented Jumping the Aisle spirit in bipartisanship. They also worked very closely as we were on 9/11 on the commission, and bringing that as an independent commission to essentially lead to recommendations for the complete reorganization of the defense and security apparatus that we enjoy today under President Trump. And that was the first reorganization since the Cold War, the Truman days. This was in the spirit of James Forrestal and Dean Acheson. And these were really, really great thinkers. And this is what John McCain and Joey Lieberman gave us in John McCain's legacy. And I also owe my legacy for politics for John McCain, because he introduced me to the great Mo Udall, where I was a little graduate student, doctoral student in Arizona, and I was working inside Mo Udall's office, helping him as an additional maverick in a salon in lawmaking with John McCain.
Tell us what it was like to be behind the scenes with Senator John McCain.
I found him to be a very good mentor. As I referenced in bringing me together with Mo Udall, both the two men were very, very good friends, and they took a lone African-American engineer and introduced him to the ways of the government, and they were really mentoring me. When I worked in Mo Udall's office, he was in the advanced stages of Parkinson's disease, and John McCain was always constantly coming in and giving me encouragement. And watching these two stalwarts of politics, and they were both in the House of Representatives, they gave me a sense to rise up from a calculus book and start thinking about what's good for the benefits of society. And they taught me about the role of science and technology for the benefits of society. And I eventually ended up in the White House, and I'm a White House alumnus standing here right now. I also think that my support for John McCain today is the public service that I have to do as a White House alumnus. You have to basically step up for war heroes and for leaders like this, who is now lying in the state in the Capitol Rotunda. And I give my sympathies and condolences to the families of the McCain family right now. And the nation is basically honoring a man who basically provided foundations for us to be great again today.
Devoted pretty much his entire life devoted to this country in one way or another. And what a story he had. And this week will be much about remembering the late senator. Thank you, sir, so much for your time this morning. We appreciate it. Thank you so much, folks, for having me. I'm honored. Of course. Thank you. All right, 37 minutes after the hour, Democrats vote to strip power from superdelegates. It's the same system that helped to secure Hillary Clinton's nomination. What does this mean for elections going forward? Some big changes at the DNC. Our political panel will debate coming up.
And skipping class, cough up the cash, where a controversial plan is forcing delinquent kids to pay hundreds of dollars for skipping class.
Summer is coming, and it's time to get outside. Pack in even more adventure with Audible. With the largest selection of audiobooks, Audible lets you follow plot twists off the beaten track. Or discover magic when you hit the open road. With the free Audible app, your stories go wherever you do. And for just $14.95 a month, you get a credit, good for any audiobook. If you don't like it, exchange it anytime. No questions asked. You can also roll your credits to the next month if you don't use them. So take Audible with you this summer. On the road, on the trail, or to the beach. Start a 30-day trial and your first audiobook is free. Cancel anytime and your books are yours to keep forever. No matter where you go this summer, make it better with Audible. Text SUMMER10 to 500-500 to start listening today.
Do you have trouble falling asleep? Do you toss and turn all night or wake up with a sore neck or headache? Then it's time you discovered MyPillow.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Just like you, I had problems sleeping. I tried every pillow out there and nothing worked. 10 years ago, I invented MyPillow. It took me 2 years to develop because I wanted to have everything you would ever want in a pillow. I made sure that you could adjust my patented fill so you could have the exact support you need as an individual regardless of your sleep position. I also wanted a pillow that would last, so I made MyPillow machine washable and dryable. I back MyPillow with a 10-year warranty and a 60-day money-back guarantee. Not only that, I do all my own manufacturing in my home state of Minnesota. Call now or go to MyPillow.com. Use the promo code on your screen to save over 50% on one of my best offers ever.
Other pillows go flat, causing you to fold them over or use your arm for support, which can cause pain. Hard foam pillows can raise your head too high, making you very uncomfortable. But the revolutionary MyPillow has patented fill that won't go flat and keeps your neck supported and aligned to your exact individual need. MyPillow helps you get and stay in deep sleep all night long.
Before MyPillow, sleeping was a nightmare. First night I got it, slept like a baby. Just was out, completely out.
I sleep better. I wake up, I feel refreshed, I feel healthy.
MyPillow helps me get a good night's sleep so I can do my job in the morning.
I personally guarantee that MyPillow will be the most comfortable pillow you'll ever own. And now you can save over 50% on one of my best offers ever. You get 2 MyPillow premiums and 2 Go Anywhere pillows. Call the number on your screen or go to MyPillow.com. Use the promo code and save over 50%.
Don't delay. Get one of Mike's best offers ever when you use this promo code. Save over 50% on Mike's 4-pack. Order now.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Good morning and welcome back. We're just a week out from confirmation hearings for President Trump's second Supreme Court nominee. Now Democrats vowing to block Brett Kavanaugh are worried one of their own might be on the fence. Doug Lazater is live in Washington, D.C. this morning with the Supreme Court showdown. Good morning, Doug.
And Jackie, good morning. Democrats and activists on the left are still hoping to block the confirmation of Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh.
We are pro-choice. We are pro-Constitution. We do not believe that Kavanaugh is a good pick, and we're lifting up our voices with the people.
Protests over the weekend to keep this issue on the front burner and to build pressure on Democrats in the Senate. But the momentum to confirm Kavanaugh may be building. So far, he's met with more than 60 senators, including at least a dozen Democrats, despite some refusing to sit down with him. Now, all of this will lead up to confirmation hearings beginning September 4th here on Capitol Hill. And look, a lot of Senate Democrats are under a lot of pressure from activists to declare their opposition even before some of them even meet with Kavanaugh. And one Democrat who's under a lot of pressure right now is Virginia's Tim Kaine, who is still technically on the fence. And Jackie, he is feeling a lot of heat because of that. Back to you.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Doug. We appreciate it. I'll take it from here. The Democrats overhauling the controversial superdelegate system ahead of 2020 as fallout from Hillary Clinton's nomination. There was some fallout there, continues to haunt the party.
Making sure that at the end of the day, when the process is done to select the Democratic nominee, that they feel like their candidate got a fair shake.
All right, so what does this mean for elections going forward for the Democrats? Joining us now to debate that is GOP strategist Aaron Elmore and Democratic strategist Antoine Seawright. So, guys, superdelegates are these delegates that are in the process of choosing the candidate for the party. They don't have to make any decision based on the way that their state voted. They can kind of do whatever they want. The Democrats want to reel in some of their power and make it so that the will of the people as I understand it, is more important in the selection of the candidate. Antoine, it's your party doing this. What do you think of the decision?
Well, I commend the leadership of the DNC for what they were able to do over the weekend. And while some in the media want to harp on one aspect of what happened on Saturday, but it was a package deal of sweeping reform that I think was probably overdue in our party. We expanded the opportunities for people to vote in person in caucuses. We made access to the ballot more accessible for young people, military, college students. We also made it easier for those who participate in caucuses. If you cannot be at a caucus to show up, you can actually vote absentee. And so there was sweeping reform on Saturday, and I think it was well needed.
Yeah, and caucuses are where people go to help choose the candidate for their party, and you usually had to be there. And it sounds like now you don't have to be there to make your case, to make your vote. Aaron, what did you think of the changes, and do you see any downside for the Democratic Party?
Plenty of downside, but I will say this. Congratulations to the Democratic Party for actually embracing democratic values. They are believing in the will of the people instead of the top-down, bottom-up, lockstep approach that got Hillary Clinton the nomination in 2016. And the beauty of this is this is what the Democrats want. And if you poll Democrats, this is what they want, a socialist. And that's likely what they're going to get. They're going to get an Elizabeth Warren. They're going to get a Bernie Sanders. But if you poll the greater America, Democrats, independents, and Republicans, they don't want that. They want someone with traditional American values that believes in safe borders and the values that our country was founded upon. So this strategy is not a winning strategy on a national level. Within the party, win-win-win within the party, though.
Aaron, you're so far off on Pluto. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Thank you.
Hillary Clinton won the nomination because millions of people around the country showed up in the primary process to help her be elected. And the democratic process by which we reformed this weekend had nothing to do with House Hillary Clinton.
Let me jump in because there was some conjecture over whether or not Hillary got this the right way, and a lot of people thought Bernie Sanders deserved the nomination. If you do look at the numbers, even without the superdelegates, Hillary Clinton still had it. She still had the nomination.
I love to hear people like Aaron, who from the outside looking in, telling us about the democratic process. Look, you're basically wrong, and you should probably try to stick with Republican values. What is happening around the country is that the Democratic Party is expanding. We're going through some growing pains. Millions of people have decided, we made a big mistake in the 2016 election, so our party has to embrace the new people who are coming under the big tent.
Aaron, how do you think, you believe that Bernie Sanders was shortchanged in 2016? How do you think that occurred? Tell us your case.
I don't necessarily think that he was shortchanged. I think it is the belief of many Democrats, and Bernie himself has indicated that he felt that way. So this is not conjecture on my part at all. It's just...
the numbers don't lie. Rob just mentioned it.
I gave you your turn. Please allow me to speak as well. Thank you very much. But the numbers, were pretty accurate, and I'm just going on what he said himself. Therefore, this is the process that changed, and this is the will of the Democratic people, and therefore the party embraced it. So kudos to you for embracing those democratic values. However, how is it going to turn out at the polls? And I say not so good for Democrats.
Antoine, what do you think?
I will just fire back and tell you you're fundamentally wrong.
TBD, right? TBD.
People are coming in waves to the Democratic Party. Republicans and independents who actually did the wrong thing in 2016 are coming. And what they realize that friends cannot let friends vote for the Republican Party in November.
I don't know what kind of friends you have, but mine don't see it that way.
All right. Well, they're saying that it should make fringe candidates give them a better shot at getting something like a nomination, which would be the socialist type candidates as well. So we'll see how this all plays out, and whether or not it
runs smoother,
and whether or not it inspires the base of the Democratic Party to come out and vote. We shall see. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time. Jackie, over to you.
All right, the time is now about 10 minutes to the top of the hour. The Confederate statue violent rioters tore down, maybe going right back up. The law protesters trying to erase history forgot to check. Don't go anywhere.
People try to put us to down. Talking about my generation. Just because we get around.
So I can buy from Enterprise Car Sales, and you'll take any trade-in.
That's right.
Great. There you go.
and get your first order free. Literally $0 for your first order.
Keeping faith in the president? After the Cohen bombshell, are evangelicals still supporting Trump? Pastor Robert Jeffress breaks it down with Shannon. Next, Fox News at Night.
I was on heroin. It was oxys for me.
I used crack cocaine. Every hour, 13 people die from drug or alcohol abuse. Don't kid yourself. Addiction is an epidemic. We all know what happens when you don't deal with addiction. Someone dies, or even worse, they hurt others. Addiction is a disease. We are the Addiction Network. And if you've been trying to quit your addiction to drugs or alcohol without any luck, then you need to call the number on your screen now. We'll connect you with someone who's been where you are. You can't beat addiction on your own, so make the call now. The call is free, the consultation is free, and the referral is free. If you have private insurance, your treatment could be covered with no out-of-pocket cost. So call the Addiction Network now. Get the help you need.
I wish my family had insurance. I could have got the best help available.